ये थोड़ा सा इधर लैंड निकल
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for finding time and visiting today's webinar. My name is Neelam and I'm representing Sargent Systems Private Limited. We are one of the leading business software solution company providing solutions and services to pharmaceuticals, healthcare, and life sciences industry. We are gathered here for the webinar on PvPI and DCGI prerequisite for pharmacovigilance activities in India. We have Mr. Ashish Bhandarkar with us. He is an astute pharmacovigilance professional who is having around 10 years of expertise in end-to-end pharmacovigilance operations from reputed organizations. He joined Sargent Systems as a subject matter expert, which is dedicated for our PV solutions. Before we get started, I would like to inform you all that if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I'll bring them one by one and we'll discuss it after the presentation will over. Now I will appreciate you all if you put your mic on mute mode, which ensure the smooth execution of the webinar. So without any further ado, I request Mr. Bhandarkar to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam. Thank you for the quick brief and thank you for the introduction of mine. My name is Ashish, as I'm currently handling all the aspects of our PV solutions here at Sargent. So, very good evening to all. I hope everybody of you are safe at your places. So, as per the today's agenda of our webinar is the main integral aspects as far as domestic PV activities are concerned. As we all are aware about the fact that in India, whenever we will be carrying over the pharmacovigilance activities for mid-scales and like high-scales companies, pharma companies, MH, service providers. So whenever they are getting any approval of any particular generic product or any innovator product in the Indian markets, it is now mandatory to them to report the particular type of adverse drug reaction, starting from some of the types like serious, unlisted, unexpected, or expected reactions. That we will go on to that. So basically, we will be focusing on the major aspects of how the ICSR submission in India happens. And the secondary aspects which we are going to focus on, the structure of PvPI and DCGI, how they work here. Sorry. Okay. So how may I request the attendees to mute their mic? Yeah. So I hope I'm audible, right? I'm really sorry for that. So before covering the ICSR submission in India, we will focus on some of the major aspects that what exactly the structure of PvPI and DCGI, which is established in India, and what exactly happens on any ADR report when we will go ahead and we will submit these major responsible authorities the ADR reports in the form of R2 XML and the COMs. So we will just understand the structural framework that how exactly ICSR submissions in India is happening. So let's just move towards the further slide quickly. Okay, now moving towards the initial aspect, that is the first we will try to understand the pharmacovigilance establishment in India. So how it has happened, how the structure was established in India. So it started with 1986, where first ADR monitoring system, which was a formal system established in India, where the government has proposed around 12 regional centers for the collection of the ADRs. But as the time went, there was very less amount of response actually. Then government recognized the response, and in 1997, India has actively participated into WHO ADR monitoring program, which is actually conducted by the Uppsala Monitoring Center at Sweden. So, with the help of WHO, Indian government later on established three major zonal regional centers. First is AIIMS, Delhi, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, KEM hospitals, and one is the JLM hospital at Mumbai. So after that, from 2004 to 2008, the Indian government has established the CDSCO, actually Central Standard Control Organization, which is the main regulatory authority actually for Indian drug approvals and pharmacovigilance management system. They have established one national pharmacovigilance program, incorporating all these EDR monitoring centers and regional reportings and zonal reportings. But some at that stage, somehow there was also less amount of response. So after that, the final establishment was happened on 14th of July 2010, which is called as Pharmacovigilance Program of India. So this PvPI, which is also we call it as PvPI, this Pharmacovigilance Program of India was a joint initiative of Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission and the CDSCO actually. So when the PvPI was initiated, the main regional national coordinating center was actually decided as AIIMS only, because since the start of the operations, AIIMS was the only responsible entity for collecting the adverse event data for the Indian submissions. Afterwards, this NCC, the National Coordination Center, was later on moved on 15th of April 2011 to the Indian Pharmacovigilance Commission actually. So IPC at Ghaziabad started hosting the ICSR submissions in India. And till January 2017, there were around 250 AMCs actually, the ADR monitoring centers established throughout the India. There are several zonals, and we will come to that slide also, how the operations actually work and how the coordination between the AMCs and the NCC PvPI works. So we will just come on that. So this is the, in brief, the history of overall establishment of pharmacovigilance in India, in which WHO had played a very, like you can say, integral role into the establishment process. So let's just move quickly on the further aspect. Now, the next important aspect here is the pharmacovigilance structure in India. So, while establishing the overall operations, the CDSCO has designed one particular structure, that how the descending and ascending flow of ICSRs will happen in India. So, the first responsible authority they have established is ADR Monitoring Center, which I have already described you since the inception of the PV processes in India. The various ADR monitoring centers were established. After that, the ADR monitoring centers were managed directly by the NCC, National Coordination Committee, along with the collaboration with PvPI. Further to this, for coordinating the data, whichever they are getting at the NCC and PvPI level for ADR recognition and synchronization. So overall activity has been coordinated with the help of IPC, that is Indian Pharmacopoeial Commission. And further to these, as far as the reporting authority is concerned, DCGI is actually the further entity which will be responsible for receipt of the COMs, actually the paper-based forms which government of India had prescribed. So the final authority is CDSCO, as we are all aware about the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, which is mainly responsible for overall recording, analysis, and the evaluation of safety data of overall the products which are approved in India. Currently, the various pharma companies they are marketing. So whoever is the MH and service provider, they are submitting their respective output reports to the corresponding authorities like NCC, PvPI and DCGI. All those reports will be analyzed collectively at the level of CDSCO, because CDSCO is the main decision-making authority. They will be responsible for analyzing the signal data which they got from NCC and DCGI level for a particular medicinal product, and they will maintain the risk management plan also at the level of CDSCO. So CDSCO is main decision-making authority. So they will decide what action they have to take on that particular product which is marketed on the basis of the safety data they have received from various service providers, or you can say MH, the core pharma companies who are marketing into Indian territories. So the last one is WHO UMC. As India has, you can say, an established IT operative system for PV activities coordination, but India has participated with the International Drug Monitoring Program also via WHO UMC. So India took the coordination and help with the help of UMC. There is a database which we call as Vigibase actually. So whichever R2XMLs or the SIOMs which we are submitting to the DCGI and PvPI, then they go ahead with the Vigibase and they will be processed in this UMC database since the from the case intake till the last end stage. The full end-to-end case processing also happens over there by importing these respective SIOMs and R2XML. So it's not only we are processing the ICSRs in our respective databases, it's WHO UMC also at Upashala Monitoring Center, so that Vigibase privilege access is with the CDSCO and DCGI and PvPI team members. They directly enter the data into the database, they upload those corresponding R2XMLs and they process the data. So it's not about that we are just only submitting the data. There are a lot more things happen on that data, which is actually handled by WHO UMC. So moving towards the next aspect, the ADR reporting centers actually. So as CDSCO has established a strong framework for collecting the ADR data from the Indian territories and different directions of India, you can say there are different regions actually. First is the regional head is led by CDSCO, which is handling and coordinating all the PV activities. The national region, the national reporting centers are there, which were established at Northeast and Southwest. So for Northeast, the AIMS is there, which is already a national entity who is responsible for major of the PV activities in India. The Southwest, there are certain other major organizations are involved in the national centers. In case of zonal and peripheral centers, North centers, East centers, South centers, and West centers, there are corresponding centers like East centers, in the West centers and South centers and West centers, like Hyderabad is there, Kolkata is there, Mumbai is there. So there are various zonal centers also established by CDSCO India for collecting the ADR data. So there are some micro centers also, which we call it as peripheral centers, which were established by CDSCO for again collecting the ADR data at the micro level from the various spontaneous sources and solicited sources. So this is a small idea that how the structure happens in India. Now, as far as the lead authority of data receipt is concerned, which is we called as PvPI, the Pharmacovigilance Program of India. So there are certain roles and roles of the personnel who are involved in the integral activities of every PV operations, which they carry over there. So the personal aspect, the National PV Center, the Administrative Authority, and the ADR monitoring centers, these are the major personnel actually responsible personnel are working in these corresponding centers and their respective functions. Like for National PV Centers, whichever the staff is there, they are responsible for collection and evaluation of adverse drug reactions. The administrative authority body, which is there with PvPI, it is actually carrying over the responsibilities of regulatory interventions and supervisions on that particular data. The ADR monitoring centers, as I already explained to you, collection of ADRs, which is the main responsible task for that. And risk benefit ratio analysis and the phase 4 study analysis also can be done by the AMCs. So AMC means ADR monitoring center. So further to this, the stakeholders, there are several important stakeholders at the regional, the national and zonal authorities which are collecting the data and analyzing the data. So at the level of AMC, the primary functions are ADR collection and reporting to PvPI NCC, the follow-up, check and query resolution, and ADR data feeding into VigiFlow database. So the UMC database, data entry is the primary task. So whichever reports will be received by the ADR monitoring centers, so whichever reports which we are submitting to them in the form of COMs or R2 XMLs, they are processing that data in this VigiFlow UMC database, safety database, and they are processing that, evaluating and processing that particular ICSR into the VigiFlow. And further to this, training and circulation of feedback to physicians. So as ADR monitoring centers are responsible for collecting the ADR data from the various areas, like you can say many of the hospitals, regional hospitals, from multiple physicians, they are getting the data. So whenever they will be getting the data, so it is their responsibility to provide a particular feedback against that data whichever they are receiving. So that circulation of feedback to the physician is the prime responsibility of the AMCs, that is ADR monitoring centers. The PvPI NCC, the major functions what they carry over is the development of SOPs, guidance documents, and the training manuals. The causality assessment, CDSCO reporting, and analysis of cases will be done. So basically, whichever the reports will be processed by the AMCs in UMC, means like in the VigiFlow, they do the primary causality assessment there. Once the case will go notified to PvPI, the PvPI NCC will actually confirm the actual causality assessment with the help of their safety physicians at place, and they will finalize the reporting criteria also over there, and they go ahead for the CDSCO reporting. So this is the primary responsibility of PvPI at their functional level. Zonal and sub-zonal CDSCO offices. Further to this, the data means like once the data will be forwarded to CDSCO, New Delhi. So these zonal and sub-zonal CDSCO offices, those are mainly responsible for financial and managerial helps to these AMCs. So there are some budgetary aspects for maintaining and coordination between those AMC. So that budgetary aspect will be provided by the zonal and CDSCO of the sub-zonal CDSCO offices. So last endpoint of every ICSR XML ICSR COMs or XML submission is the evaluation of data at the level of CDSCO New Delhi. So they make the final decision and action on the recommendation of PvPI and NCC, along with the stakeholder awareness about the decision and teamwork along with WHO UMC. So basically, CDSCO is main decision making authority. With the help of signaling data and the safety data they will get from PvPI and NCC. PvPI and NCC, they also recommend to CDSCO that, okay, we have to ban this drug from marketing, or we have to stop the distribution of this particular drug on the basis of the safety results which they got. So CDSCO is main primary authority who will immediately take the decision with the help of the risk and benefit assessment data of that particular product, and they will work closely with the WHO also for reporting the same data of that particular drug if that drug is marketing throughout the globe. Like globally, if that drug is approved for the distribution, and if suppose at the India level, if we receive any unrealistic signal like it is very harmful for the population, so at that time, if CDSCO will stop the distribution at the India level, at that immediate moment, they will inform WHO also to take the corresponding action on that drug. So this is the overall structure and function, how it works. And there are several authorities, actually several authorities are involved which supports the IPC and CPVPI organization for like you can say coordinating the activities, overall PV activities. So these are some of the organizations who are supporting the NCC PvPI. First is CDSCO, which is the major decision making, WHO, UMC, AMC is there, which is nothing but the ADR monitoring center, National Institute of Biologics for vaccine monitoring, National Health Profile Index organization, that is also one of the organization who is responsible for collective analysis of the ADR data, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, which is responsible for implementing the current trends and changes as far as the drug approval design is concerned, and the adverse event following immunization and immunization technical support unit, which is actually a dedicated unit for the vaccine safety monitoring. Whenever any vaccine is marketed in the Indian territory, the basic safety monitoring aspects are covered by this AEFI and ITSU organization. So these are some of the various authorities which are responsible for coordination of those all the ICSR like submission and PV pharmacovigilance end-to-end activities with the ICC and PvPI. So further to this, the overall in summary, this is a very actually you can say very important structure which we understood. So in overall summary, the drug will be consumed by the patient, they will experience the adverse drug reaction, and the reporting will happen through various channels like physicians, patients, pharmacists, dentists, any relative of the patient, they can report it. What to report? They can report all the serious and non-serious and all the suspected ADRs. Then enhanced reporting approaches are also used currently. This is a new trend in India. So they Indian government, actually CDSCO has also entered with an agreement with the development of a separate Android app for reporting the ADR data for a particular drug. So via which the patients and physicians, they will get the direct access to this Android app, and they can actually record their corresponding data which they experienced actually. So there is a feedback system at place for getting the feedbacks from patients and physician. There is a toll-free number system at place, which I'm going to show you the mode of communication, how the exact submission occurs, and via which ways, via which numbers, via which form you can actually submit the reports. That on that slide we're going to come soon. Reporting forms, ADR reporting form is dedicated for IPC submissions, and there are certain collaboration with any third-party organization for collecting the ADR data. So this is the kind of actually ways of different types of reporting which happens in India. So where to report? Then once the AMCs, the ADR monitoring centers, they will receive the report from these peripheral, regionals and zonal authorities, which I just shown you upside in the chart. So through those different ways, AMCs will they will receive the data in the form of CIOMs or ADR reporting forms and other different mode of communication which I have just explained to you. So AMC will analyze and process the data in VigiFlow. They enter that data, they upload that ADR, and that ADR will be notified to NCC PvPI. PvPI will do the quality assessment of that corresponding adverse event report, and after that the signal detection activities responsibility will also be taken care by PvPI at certain extent. So whichever the signal analysis data which NCC and PvPI get on their level, they are obliged to report the same data to the regulatory authority, that is Central Drug Standard Control Organization and the WHO UMC. So it is a complete cycle, you can say, starting from drug consumption till the actual reporting to the regulatory authority. So communication of that signal analysis data or the benefit risk assessment data, so that could be done via various ways like official websites, newsletters, scientific journals and media. So with the help of analysis of that data, CDSCO will take the decision of whether they want to apply a ban on that drug or not. They will analyze the impact on the PV activities of that particular product when they apply any sort of ban, and overall the patient's safety will be maintained with the help of that signal data in India by the CDSCO. So there are certain important challenges as of now in India reporting is concerned. So there are certain challenges, that lack of awareness and lack of cautiousness, like health awareness. As we see, many of the physicians, they are least interested to report the ADR data. Many of the patients, they'll just suffer some ADRs, mild ADRs, but they will never report those. So this is kind of under-reporting will be observed in multiple times, and less facilities are there. So the like other affiliates in other countries, for they do have dedicated affiliates and the specialty pharmacies for collecting the ADR data for a single drug, whichever they sell over the counter or with the prescription. So like these facilities, we are lacking somewhere around the facility related aspects. A robust PV database. So let me just tell you one important aspect. Whichever reports we are submitting to PvPI and DCGI on the routine basis, they don't have their dedicated database, as they went ahead with the partnership with WHO UMC. It's the Vigiflow actually they are using for their routine data entry and all the safety monitoring and safety surveillance and signal detection activities. So there is a communication gap between various types of various AMCs throughout the Indian territory. So lack of synchronization is also observed. So these are some of the major challenges in front of us currently. Slowly, Indian government is also taking the efforts to overcome those challenges. They are implementing new aspects, new regulatory updates, and new reporting like guidelines slowly, day by day. And very soon they will be implementing their own safety database for their routine reporting and the signaling analysis activity. So moving towards the further aspect. So ICSR, we will come on the actual aspect now. ICSR reporting and submission. So who can report? As we all are aware about, these are some of the major reporters: clinicians, dentists, healthcare professionals, nurses. Pharmaceuticals companies can also send directly to the NCCs for their products, the ICSRs. When to report? So these are some of the major regulatory timelines. So for each service provider and each MAS, they have to report any serious adverse drug reaction or serious case. You can say whether it is expected or unexpected, they have to report it within 15 days. Any death and life-threatening fatal cases, they will be reported within 15 days only. All the non-serious cases are actually useful for the signal analysis for the CDSCO and at the level of PvPI. So those non-serious cases, they should be submitted within 30 days. So what to report? Actually, all the types of reports, you can say these are types of some of the report: life-threatening, hospitalization, patient care. These are actually nothing but the seriousness criteria. Actually, medically significant event, lack of efficacy cases connected with the use of medical device or drug product, all the suspected drug interactions, all known or unknown serious, non-serious, frequent or rare reactions caused due to the use of vaccines and drugs. So let me just first highlight one of the important aspect here is it's not only about drug every time. The safety monitoring involves the biological products also, the medical devices also. So as far as the licensing of medical devices are concerned, the respective MH and those pharmaceutical companies which are responsible for distributing any medical device in India, they have, it is obligatory for them to actually report their safety data, the ADR reports for corresponding to those medical devices or the vaccines if they do have a vaccine approval in India. So it is very much important and crucial and critical aspect in order to enhance the patient safety in India. So this is also one of the important parameter which I highlighted. So how you can report? So we come on the actual point. So duly filled ADR reporting form needs to be sent to the ADR monitoring centers or NCCs. I have just attached that AMC form in the presentation, so I'll show you that how the form looks. It is a dedicated form actually prescribed by Government of India for reporting those ADR reports at once. So patients or physicians or pharmacists or any spontaneous reporting could be done via toll-free helpline number. This is the actual number currently, which is actively useful for MICC centers. 1800-1800-180-3024. So the AMC call centers, they can attend your calls for safety reporting via this number. You can report your corresponding ADRs for the specific product to the AMCs, the ADR monitoring centers. So mailing the field ADR reporting form directly to PvPI pvpi@ipcindia.net or pvpi.ipcindia@gmail.com. So these are two of the primarily used websites, email IDs actually to submit the ADR reporting from prescribed by Government of India. One more is that, so where to report. So I have already explained you the structure, how the centers, the regional, national, zonal centers, they work. So there are several centers which are at place. Peripheral centers include the small medical centers, private hospitals, they work there, and they help the NCC PvPI to collect and analyze the ADR safety data. The regional PV centers, these are the secondary centers, like the medical colleges having relatively larger facilities. They have given the authority to collect the ADR data from various territories of India. So there are 5 such regional centers are established as of now in India. So zonal PV center, these are the tertiary and major centers, which are actually nothing but the medical colleges in the major metro cities, like AIMS is there as a primary authority. They work for the final analysis of the data. So moving towards the further aspect, this is the ADR reporting form, which looks like for the routine ADR reporting, which is prescribed by the Government of India and the CDSCO. So it's a voluntary reporting. So spontaneously any healthcare professional or any consumer can fill this, and they can submit this to the corresponding AMC in their territory, which is actually the subzonal reporting center for them. So this is the one of the important criteria for the submission. Now ICSR submission framework. So this is the major important aspect. So in case of routine PV operations, whenever you are processing any case for which you are responsible for the India submissions, there are currently 2 authorities, major authorities, PvPI and one is DCGI. They are accepting your PvPI is accepting the R2 XML, and the DCGI is accepting the COMS as of now. So whenever you will be going ahead for the domestic submissions, PvPI is responsible for overall domestic submissions in the form of R2 XML. So if you are right now, whenever you will be processing any case for India submissions in your database, basically you have to generate 2 types of reports. One is your R2 XML, and second is your CIOMS. So both the reports are acceptable by these 2 authorities. One is PvPI and the DCGI, Drug Controller General of India. So for foreign submissions, rest of the world submissions, if the same drug which is marketed in India, if that MH is having the approval in rest of the world, then DCGI will coordinate those COMs to the corresponding approved regulatory authorities also at certain extent for signaling activities. So for foreign submissions also, you can go ahead for the COMs. So basically there are 2 major ways which I have mentioned. You can pull out these 2 reports, and via mail, actually the current submission status is happening via mail for 99% of PV operations. They accept like Indian regulators, they are accepting the details via mail now. So first DCGI submission, these are the communication details. Actually these are real-time communication details I have mentioned. Many of the service providers, PV service providers and the MH, they are submitting their DCGI like COMs via these mail IDs to DCGI, pharma.covig@cdisco.nic.in, and second is dci@nic.in. The second R2 XML submissions to be done to the PvPI via these 2 mail IDs, the pvpi@ipcindia.net and pvpi@ipcindia@gmail.com, which I already explained you. So up to this, we have actually focused on the majority on the structure of the pharmacovigilance framework in India, how the submission happens, and what are the point of contacts, what exactly the ICSR submission summary. So after submission of report, what exactly Indian regulators are doing on those reports, how they are processing, how they are getting their signal data from that vast amount of safety data whichever they received throughout from the Indian territories and from different reporters, whether it is from organized reporting systems like solicited report or clinical trial reports, or whether it is from spontaneous sources or literature sources from all the sources. Currently, Indian regulators are accepting all the types of these two types of reports, which I have mentioned. One is R2XML and one is SIOM. So, as far as we as a global safety database providers are concerned, now I will highlight few of the points also, that we have a separate dedicated India submission system at place, which actually, via which you can actually go ahead, process your reports into the database, ADR reports, and pull out the corresponding R2 XML and SIOMs from the database, and you can go ahead with the India submissions also. We have a dedicated module in which hard-coded and predefined India submission specific rules we have added. So as far as the regulatory timelines are concerned, like serious, unexpected and expected cases, the system will automatically, once you select the system will, once you select the India as submission country over there, system will automatically fire those corresponding R2 XML and R3 SIOMs within fraction of seconds, and those two reports will be available for you for the submission. Then the system is actually capable of intelligent auto selection of those submission parameters for DCGI and PvPI. So basically, whenever you go ahead for any of the regulatory authority submissions, it is primary mandatory criteria that you have to select senders and receiver node details over there in the submissions, because without having the like recipient and sender node, you cannot submit that corresponding safety report into to a regulatory authority. So whenever you will be pulling that R2 XML, you have to manually submit those senders and receiver detail. But we at PVH has implemented the automated selection of those parameters. You don't need to work any sort of manual aspects. You can pull out directly the R2 XML reports which are specific to PvPI for the submissions aspect. SIOMs is the normal entity which you can pull out in the form of PDF, and you can directly transmit the same via the mail system. So intelligent auto generation and download of SIOMs and R2 XML. So with one click, as I just mentioned, system will automatically select those parameters, automatically select those submission rules and timelines, and it will fire SIOMs and R2 XML from the solution. Auto mapping of senders and receiver node, as I have already explained. So there are several other aspects actually. So whenever you will be pulling these reports, you have to take over, like you have to take those communication details, you have to draft a mailer, you have to get the cover letter for whenever you will be submitting any data to Indian authorities. So with that cover letter, you have to attach the SIOMs also and R2 XML separately, and you have to go ahead and mail those details to the corresponding authorities like DCGI and PvPI via mails. As of now, as far as the latest update is concerned, currently Indian government, as they don't have a robust safety database at place, so they are not opting for any gateway solutions like other regulatory authorities like EMA and US FDA or TGA and Health Canada. But they can actually pull out, but they can actually receive those E2B XMLs and SIOMs at their via mails at their database level, and they can directly import those R2 XMLs in the VGFlow, which is the UMC database. So as of now, gateway submission is not there with the Indian submission. So the only way you can submit to Indian regulators via the mail, the mailers, actually the communication details which I have shown you. So the regarding the further aspect now, the important aspect which I just thought of, that how the framework will upgrade in future. So as I already highlighted, the aspect that Indian government is also trying very much hard to implement new guidelines, new aspects for submissions, and as compared to other regulators throughout the world. So like implementation of R3 aspects are also there in the consideration. As I already mentioned that currently they are lacking a robust safety database. Once they get the safety database at place, which is going to happen very soon, then R3 implementation parameters will also come into the picture, and the R3 implementation will start for India submissions also. So it is going to happen very soon in 2021. I hope, because as per my recent communication with the Indian officials at CDSCO, they are also planning for getting a safety database at place for their central case processing unit at IPC. So this is one of the new recent updates which we are having. There are no changes as of now in SIOMs are concerned. The globally recognized SIOMs only they are accepting, and along with that, there are certain requirement of biological products which they have, like vaccines. Whenever you will be processing the vaccine cases in the database for India submissions, then you can pull out the VAERS, also vaccine adverse event reporting system form actually. So our database is also having that capability that you can pull out the VAERS form from the database itself. Now, second aspect is the medical device reporting. So we have a dedicated module in the solution for medical device reporting in India. So whichever the fields specific parameters are prescribed by the CDSCO and the PvPI, those fields are defined properly and accurately in the field as per the R2 and the ICH to be R2 schema, and whichever the data you will enter over there, that could be pulled out in the form of R2 XMLs from the solution. So basically, you can process the drug case processing, the core case processing, medical device case processing, and vaccine case processing also with the output of R2 XML, SIOMs, the medical device adverse reporting form, and the vaccine adverse event reporting form as per the USFDA guidelines. So because Indian regulators are also accepting the VARS for their corresponding vaccine submissions along with SIOMs for the additional data related to that particular vaccine. So in the today's webinar, in conclusion, we have focused on major of the aspect which I have explained you, the structure, the framework, how the system works, what are exactly the regional and zonal centers, how the submission happens, the mode of communication, the point of contact, and what are the recent trends and challenges which the current PV system in India is facing, and the upcoming changes they are going to happen related to R3 XMLs also, submission of R3 XMLs also, and the safety database which is dedicated to Indian government. So these are some of the major parameters we have highlighted here. I hope the overall webinar is fruitful for you all, whoever are responsible currently for India submissions, dedicated domestic submission they have. So yeah, why I have highlighted our solution also here, because we have a complete 100% capability of India submissions. Many of our domestic clients are handling currently the India submissions with the help of our safety solutions. So here I'll just conclude my overall webinar. Now we will quickly move through the Q&A session. Over to you, Neela.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you so much for deep discussion about the submission of ICSR. So now we'll go ahead and take some question answers round. Just a reminder for all the attendees, just type your questions at the chat box and then we'll take your questions one by one. So I think we have some questions.
Some of the questions in place. Okay.
Yeah,
Neelam, we just received, does the system, so is there any roadmap for introduction of R3? Yes, I already explained you the fact that the R3 roadmap is already ready with the Indian government officials, as we had the recent communication with them. Once their safety database will be at place for their core case processing team, then they will start processing the R3 aspects also. So they won't be there won't be any need of VG flow for their routine case processing, but the cross reporting will happen with the WHO also, as they are working collaboratively with WHO UMC. So whichever the cases, with the help of R3 XMS, they will be processing into their dedicated database. Those will be cross submitted for the signal analysis to UMC also. So this is one of the latest development actually they have. Now the second question which we have received is, does the system also have the facility to send PSURs also electronically? Okay, so let me tell you regarding the system which we have at place. So this is a system, it's not only it not only supports the submissions, but it also supports the predefined PSUR generation aspects. So as you all are aware about the fact that as per the GVP 7, there are several important sections, or 18 to 20 different sections, static and dynamic sections of PSUR draft report are there. So you need a predefined line listing data from the solution. So we have exclusive capability with us via which you can pull out any type of predefined line listings from the event, such as event summary report, event frequency report, summary tabulation report, CT summary tabulation report, summary tabulation as per GVP 7. Then there are several other reports which are important as far as the PEDers are also concerned, PR1 to PR8. There are a lot of aspects are there actually whenever you go ahead for the draft PSUR drafting for India submissions. So these are some of the aspects which we have, which will support you while drafting your PSURs when you go ahead for the India submissions. So we have received one more question. Could you please confirm the ICSR reporting for death, life-threatening cases? Okay, slide 10 states within 15 days. Okay, so as far as the latest PV32 guidelines and the submission aspects are concerned, all the serious cases, including death and life-threatening fatal cases, will be reported to PvPI and DCGI within 15 days. So here also there is a small segregation is there. One is the spontaneous cases, actually serious and life-threatening fatal, they will be reported under 15 days. There are certain criteria for clinical trial cases when the 7-day SUSAR will be considered over there, and those will be reported under 7 days for SUSAR cases. So we have received one more question. As per the slides, ineffective medicines can be reported based on one's prescription, one's perception. Okay, so ineffective medicines, the perception. Okay, the point here is whenever we receive any inquiry from any report to our MICC team, to our, like you can say, PV call center team. So at that time, we need to first of all understand the data, what they are reporting, the perception with which the patient is reporting that it might be possibility they are feeling that drug is not effective, but actually drug has shown their effect that. But it is the actually responsibility of that particular safety officer to judge actually whether it is a real drug ineffective case or not, and they have to optimize their response to that corresponding reporter in that way. So this is one of the important aspects as far as the perception is concerned. Okay, there is one more question we have received. So as far as the vaccine aspect is concerned, for vaccine submissions, we have a question with how you can submit. So as I already explained to you, system has the capability of providing you the VAERS report from the solution, and you can pull out that report along with your R2XML and CIOMS, and you can submit these 3 reports collectively to DCGI and PvPI, so that they will get the additional data for their signal analysis for the biological products. Okay, we have one more question. There are a lot of questions actually. Most of the people are responsible for India submission. So does foreign literature ICSR required to submit to DCGI, whereas MH name is not mentioned in article of suspect drug? So I hope Hiren, I think he has asked it. So I hope you understood the literature surveillance guidelines which are as per the GVP module you might have seen, and as per the guidelines which are provided by Indian government, CDSCO and PvPI regarding the literature surveillance. So if your MH is having, if it is a generic product, first of all, then if your MH is having the authorization for that particular generic product in India, then irrespective of its approval in other countries, whenever you do your literature survey on PubMed via different portals like PubMed on Embase, you have to frame your search string in such a way that you have to add the adverse event data related to those generic products irrespective of your MH. So you have to search all the article, perform search of all the articles related to your generic product actually, irrespective of your MH. So whichever the articles, whether it is, you can analyze the retrospective data also and the prospective data also. You need to sort out that data. You have to perform the evaluation analysis, that is primary and secondary analysis. You have to decide that which are the valid ICSRs and literature ICSRs, and you could go ahead with the literature case processing. This happens exactly at the DCGI level. This process, actually the same process is implemented at EMA level also and at USFDA level also when you go ahead for the corresponding global reporting. So on that point of global reporting, our solution is also having major capability of global reporting. We have a dedicated India submission module, as I have just explained you. So you can go ahead for the global reporting also. Throughout any of the regulatory authority throughout the globe, you can submit your reports in the form of R3 XML also, R2 XML also for US FDA, R3 XML for EMA, and rest of the forms which I told you, along with the MedWatch for US FDA submissions also. So this is one of the major capability we have. Should the foreign cases be submitted to CDSCO only and not PvPI? Okay, I have already explained to this in my previous slide actually. So whenever you will go ahead for the foreign submission, you have to submit to DCGI. So CDSCO is the regulating authority which is coordinating and controlling both of these reporting like portals like PvPI and DCGI. But DCGI is mainly responsible for the submission of foreign cases actually. Whenever your source country and the submission country is different, they are not matching, then you have to submit the reports to DCGI and you have to mention in mail that this drug is actually having the approval globally along with India. Okay, any updates when is PvPI is upgrading to R3? Okay, I already mentioned that plan that Indian officials are currently working vigorously on the implementation of safety systems. Once they establish their own safety system at the level of PvPI, because currently all the case processing teams are working under IPC, Indian Pharmacovigilance Commission offices, and they will once they will get their own safety database at place, they will start immediately accepting the R3 XMLs also. Okay. Okay, there is one more question: how to report ADR to PvPI? Okay, I already mentioned that also. In the form of R2 XMLs, you have to pull out the R2 XML from your solution, and the communication addresses which I have provided earlier via email. You can reach out to PvPI and you can just with the cover letter, you can just draft a mailer and you can attach that particular XML for that case ID and you can submit it to them. Okay, for 15 days date live tracking. Okay, there is a separate document on Indian government site. If you go to IPC and PvPI site, you can actually check over there. The proper guideline is there for India submissions. So you can refer that guideline so you can understand overall prerequisites and what are the requirements which are required for establishing the India submissions operations. So you can understand all the regulatory timelines over there. So I think we are receiving plenty of questions, but as of now, due to some time constraints, we will actually conclude our session over here. So meanwhile, I want to highlight one more aspect of our solution here. So you can go ahead for the dedicated India submission module. You can go ahead for the global submission module at place. And if you have any queries and questions, more like related to the India submissions, ICSR submissions at the level of PvPI and DCGI, you can connect with us at any time. I'll just show you how you can connect with us. So we have the online presence at sarjan@sarjan.com. We have our corporate office located at Ahmedabad and other nodal offices at Mumbai, UK and US also. So if you have any query, you can connect with us. If you have any demonstration related query, if you want to see the solution, how it works for India submissions, for your process requirement is there. If you are a newly established service provider, you can go ahead with the solution and you can perform your domestic submissions. And actually at www.sarjan.com, you can put the inquiry also, respective inquiry also for the solution demonstration. So once we receive the inquiry, we will schedule a demonstration slot. Okay, over to you, Neelam.
Thank you so much, Ashish. I think we have covered all the questions now. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much again. And then at last, we'll share you the webinars recording on your given mail IDs. And also we'll distribute your e-certification on your mail ID in upcoming working days. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you, and please be safe at your places. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
Thank you.